And the craziest part of it all is that an avocado was the missing piece of the puzzle that helped me figure out what was making my 1-year-old daughter so sick. And even her pediatrician and allergist couldn't figure it out. Hi, I'm Monique Gloria, on a mission to help others become resilient to stress so that they can unlock their intuition. This mission really evolved from the challenges that I faced in 2021, especially with the mystery illness that my daughter faced. Let me take a step back and give you some background. I ended up exclusively pumping with my daughter, so for the first 13 months of her life, I was her primary source of nutrition. After about 6 months or so, she'd have some bouts where she'd spit up, and I'd be completely covered after her bottle. I noticed that if I had a lot of dairy for a few days, with creamy pasta or cheese, it would happen more, so I decided to try eliminating dairy from my diet. One day when trying scrambled eggs for the second or third time, she had a big reaction of hives on her face all around her mouth. I also then cut out egg from my diet to be safe until we could see an allergist. Just before her first birthday, we went in for a scratch test with an allergist where they prick your skin. Any mother will tell you that having their child experience any pain is tough. And let me tell you, the scratch test, it was tough, but I had no idea what was coming my way and how tough it would really get. They did their control positive and negative at the top, as well as the suspected couple of allergens to keep the pain to a minimum. She had a pretty significant response to all of them, but most importantly, we got a confirmed positive for egg and a negative to cow milk. So after we got the negative for milk, we then began introducing whole milk to begin weaning off of my breast milk. But that began the worst 2 months of my life. Because as we introduced more things to her, things just got worse and worse and out of control. At first, I thought some of the signs were actually signs of lactose intolerance, which isn't picked up on a scratch test by an allergist. It's a different response to the body. Even with cutting dairy, her issues didn't resolve. And that's what really plagued and confused the pediatrician and the allergist, because it seemed like everything was making her sick. It was 2 months of pain, of tears during diaper changes because things were so bad. And honestly, the rock bottom of that is when I, in tears, went to the pediatrician begging them to just test her stool and see what was going on to see if there could be any information. And they looked at me and said, "Sorry, we only deal with basic things. We can't help you. Try calling around and asking others for help." I called the allergist and they said, "Nope, it definitely can't be dairy because our tests are 97% accurate." And at that point, I knew I could call around to all these different doctors, but I had to rely on myself, my own intuition. So what I did is I made her diet as basic as possible because she was still getting my breast milk from primary nutrition. And just every few days would try adding something new in. And luckily, it was only a few days later when I had introduced some avocado. And I noticed that things got significantly worse. So I went right to Google and I asked, what does banana, which I had noticed she had a reaction to before, and avocado have in common? And boom, I found an article talking about histamine intolerance. I had never heard of it, but everything lined up with what we had been seeing. And so after discussing with my husband, we decided to test it out with a low histamine diet, since her diet was already pretty basic anyway. So we cut out all the things that we found listed on high histamine foods, and within a few days, we noticed a difference. And after a few weeks, it was incredible. It was like we were starting to get our daughter back because she was no longer in pain. I'm so thankful that I was able to piece together random, seemingly small reactions that led to figuring out this particular piece of the puzzle. The worst part, though, is looking back on her 2 months of pain, is that in that scratch test I mentioned earlier, the biggest reaction during her skin test was from the control positive. And guess what the control positive is? Pure histamine. If her allergist had even been aware the histamine intolerance could be a thing, we might have avoided 2 months of pain. Imagine for months knowing that something that your daughter is eating was making her so sick and in pain, and it seemed like no one wanted to help figure it out. Each mealtime caused so much stress and anxiety because it seemed like everything was making her sick. And I felt guilty for being the one making her sick, even though I was trying to give her healthy foods like banana, avocado, strawberries, grapes, all the things that most people would consider healthy. Those 2 months were a lot to handle. My husband and I felt very alone because how could we explain to anyone how sick she was and not know what was causing her and that doctors wouldn't help? I would have a lot of sleepless nights. That's why knowing how dark and deep and tough this was makes it even more incredible that I was able to become resilient to stress. And if you haven't seen that video, you're definitely going to want to check it out. And if you are watching this video because you too are on this path of trying to understand histamine intolerance, then I assure you, you're going to want to subscribe because there is a lot of helpful information that's going to be coming your way. In addition to the content, I just want to look you in the eye and tell you that you are not alone. This is tough and it's going to be a journey. It's not going to be a sprint where you'll find an easy medication that will fix all your problems. However, I'm here to give you hope that healing is possible and you don't have to go at it alone. In fact, maybe that's why you found this video in the first place. Maybe I'm a teammate who'll be just one piece of the puzzle and helping you figure out your own unique mystery. If so, it'd be my greatest honor to do so. One of the ways that I'm aiming to help others in the same exact situation is by helping them become resilient to stress, which has honestly been a game changer for me. And that's why I created the Stress Resilience Masterclass. If you're interested in learning more, go to dragonflysoulacademy.com and you'll find all the details that you need. And it would be my honor. Okay. And it really seemed like everything was making her sick.